Why it's so overrated. You know what I mean?
One out of 100. Excellent. Some kind of fundamental
If you're online, you missed a brilliant start to the show and an explanation of history. But perhaps if you take some time and attend the It's More Than Just Money Business and Property seminar, one day you will be preview to how we shoot some of the podcasts live at the seminars. Today's conversation is going to be a natural conversation that covers money, mindset, business, purpose, legacy, and culture, because the person that I'm sitting with is rooted when it comes to understanding legacy, when it comes to building business, when it comes to money. He's had a lot of money, he's lost a lot of money. He's a media mogul, he's a broadcaster, he's a radio veteran, he's an entrepreneur, he's an author, he's a podcaster. He is a restaurateur now. You've started a lot of businesses in your lifetime. And starting back in your days at Vets Tech, I mean, I've had the privilege of reading some of your books. So I understand where you started. You started selling in the streets. So when you look at your journey in business, what is it that you haven't done? God, it looks like an array, a lot of businesses that you've done. Some have made it, some have failed, some are now corporate. Look at where Morfire is now. So when you look back and you look at what you've achieved, what do you think about?
No, thank you very much for the invites. I appreciate it. Thank you very much to everyone that came here, spent their time and energy and sacrifice to be here and be with the like-minded people in the same room. I think it's quite impressive, and it's incredible that we can fill up a room on a Saturday morning for knowledge. And just for that, you guys can give yourselves a round of applause. Well done. Congratulations to you and the channel. 40,000 subscribers is no child's play. You do know it requires a lot of consistency. It's nice. I remember when we were here, I think it was last year or the year before, I don't remember.
Year before.
Year before, right? That's how quickly time flies. Here at the Royal Marang, we spoke about your channel. And you never look back, you implemented and you're just consistent. And I hope this audience learns from just that one example of you starting a YouTube channel, mentoring someone, and them paying you back for the mentorship through giving you the login details of the YouTube channel with 1,000 subscribers. And I gave you an advice and I showed you the back end of what was going on in YouTube. How do we earn? How do you grow the platform? And you just never look back. The following week, immediately, you implemented and you started, and you've never stopped. You've been dropping awesome gems, awesome knowledge every week, all the way until today. That's almost like 100 weeks ago. So I hope people that are in this room also, whatever knowledge that you get to learn from here that you think might work for you, implement immediately and be consistent and just keep going. If you keep on overthinking it, sometimes you end up not achieving much. God has been good in my life. I've experienced a lot of things. I've had a lot of success. I've had a lot of failures. I've met a lot of people. I've traveled the world. I've lived my dream. But I guess just because I've got crazy work ethic. I go for my dreams. I go for whatever I want. I create relationships, and I never mind about failing. And I speak openly about my failures because I understand the path to success. Failure is a part of it. Right? It's not even failure. I don't even think what's the right word I can come up with. So I've understood that concept, that you're going to trip and fall, trip and fall, trip and fall. But once you just keep on going at it, you'll eventually get there. So, geez, man, I've done a lot of things. I've tendered, like a lot of people tried tenders over 15 years ago, tried waste management. I tried the food business at some point, through forming an NGO and working with cooperatives. Tiko. Yeah, he's on Evulia Tandaza. Sure. For those who didn't hear it, you can listen. Tiko. Why you trying to? Ganda Demudi Musho. Asiabulo, lidi poko, lidi lots of snacks. I'm just joking, guys. Yeah, geez, I failed a lot of times. Yeah, so I've tendered. I've worked with a lot of people in the government space. I have done projects for the government. Some I have not been paid for. I've gotten a cut for. I've tried to lobby some people that I know, politicians, to try and help me to get my money. I've been told I must pay to get paid, even when I've done the work already. And then I ended up eventually getting cut for with working for government and tendering. It's not something that I would say I will not do in the future. Government is the biggest employer, and government has got a lot of money, and government empowers a lot of entrepreneurs. It's just that the bad apples sometimes mess up the system, right? And there's different political parties with different ideologies, and a lot of people have always been vocal about, no, the tendering system is wrong because it benefits only the people who know, that people in the high places. Even though I would say I knew some people in high places, it still did not work for me. So that's the reason I decided to go a different route. And when I went a different route, I tried a lot of things which I failed at. But I always say with success, you just need to be right once. Yeah, you just need to win once, and then it opens up even bigger doors for you. And then whatever you generate, you can then reinvest into other things and just keep going.
You've inspired millions of people, from music to business, entrepreneurship on the streets. But if someone was to meet you today, how would you describe DJ Sbu? Or Sbusiso Leope? How would you describe it?
Family man, love my kids. I'm a father, very, very proud father. I'm a servant of God. I love God. Now no longer just Busiso Leope, I'm Busiso Leope Kankosi, officially from a few hours ago, last night in Tlhabile, go high. So you can see I've got my third bracelet, which is a process that a lot of Africans go through. I've been going through that process. Hasn't been easy. It's been a journey of education. I've learned quite a lot about my culture, who I am, what I represent, where I come from. So I'd really just say that I'm a patriotic South African who is a loving family man, and I enjoy being a father.
And what was your first taste of hustle? The moment you realized you could turn your grind into greatness. I mean, I remember you talked about the fact that you would go to YFM, wanting them to hear you DJ or something. You would wait for Kabzela. Was it Kabzela? You'd wait for Kabzela every time he goes for his show. You'd be standing there at the door asking for an opportunity to be heard. What was that like?
That was a great experience. I mean, before that, I was already tuned. My mother instilled that mindset. That's why I do it to my kids. So every time when we're going to have like an activation, or whether I'm going to be selling something on a weekend, or I'm going to be doing promo for Mufaya or for any other thing that I do, I make sure that my little ones are there just for them to see and sort of absorb, even though they might not understand now. But the fact that they're around somebody who sells, somebody who communicates with people, somebody who is a people's person. Sometimes I'm podcasting, I make sure my little ones are there. So my mom did the same thing with me. So from Xampani Kelentwana, my mom owned a hair salon, and I'd always be around there, especially the Keladi Kwetwe. The Keladi Kwetwe keda wang Roma, sometimes Kimshebi lo Rospana Jwang, by Chuna Jwang, Eskele, Kana Gozo no to Medi Pem. I don't know if you guys remember Pem. Yeah. Lidi Eskele, people braiding. So I grew up under that environment. And Lego Jadling no les Paza, Spaza shop. So Nzexebo Paisa, Nebarata Hong Shiakos Paza or Kepaisa. So after school, Neke Paisa, Rakos Paza. I never really liked Baho Paisa because I kind of felt I needed, some time to play with other kids. But when you're young, you don't understand, right? But then I guess that was the entrepreneurship seed that was getting planted in me. That's why I do it to my kids now, even today. And I'd like to encourage everyone out here also, whatever you do, like always bring your kids around, even though they don't enjoy it. Well, not all the time, because sometimes they want to go do their thing. But whenever you can, as often as possible, whatever you can, just plant that seed in their mind for them to be exposed to what you're doing. Because that makes a big difference in the long run. Many, many years later, might not be today. So even though maybe you still think they're too young, they might not understand, bring them. Even in meetings, sometimes if you can't bring them, let them sit there. Give them the tablet or the iPad, even though they're not participating. Just let them listen. Just let them get used to the lifestyle that you're living, the environments that you're in, the rooms that you're getting into, the narratives that you're putting out there, the things that you speak about, the things that you're involved in. It's a great thing. So that's what happened to me. So I started understanding money, how money flows, how to make money, communication skills, speaking to taxi drivers, speaking to clients, the community, whatever they'd be buying there. So that really helped me quite a lot, you know. So I would always say to people, entrepreneurship starts early. And for me, even when I was hustling to get into YFM, I had already been to a community radio station, which I hustled to get in there. And I was at a community radio station, simultaneously I was at a campus radio station. So I was at both developmental radio platforms while I was seeking to try and get into YFM. So with the work ethic that I had and just that seed that my parents had planted in me of hustling at home, so when I go to school, I'd grab stock Spaza shop and then I tell my parents, school packing, when other kids are eating. So I mean, I learned trading from an early age. So even when I'm pushing my career, I'm trying to get on radio, the skills are helping me, you know, push whatever I'm pushing. So if you can trade, if you can communicate with people, if you can convince people, you can converse with people, you know, you've got those little life skills. No matter how young you are, they sort of grow with you. So whatever else that you're doing, even if it's not necessarily business, those skills come in handy. And I guess those skills worked for me to end up being a part of YFM unofficially. I was not hired, but I used my skills to befriend the DJs there. So nebanganya cause nekapara nice, you know. Bengizigabha sure. Bengizigabha bengihlale nginuka kamnandi, yabo. Bengithanda indwangu, bengihlale nginuka kamnandi, bengizincanya.
Kona le picture yakho ugqoka i-egg
Dala nginenyuku
Nero's
sure.
mod.
Dala nginenyuku. Dala nginenyuku. So inyuku ngijwayele, yabo. That's why ngikhona nokuyichange every. So my mindset is I'm used to money. So even when I'm hustling and doing other things, although it was little money, I was young. But I'm not someone like olambile, no mangvela, I'm trying to create relationships nabantu mhlambe ngibashile. No, cleaning, no amnandi, fresh. No mangibashayele around nakibu aba udlo or man ntwane is clued up, you know. Kintwane slame. So it was easy to like me and it was easy for you to open doors for me because I was also somebody, if you open one door for me and I get my 1 foot in, you'll see that I don't really need to depend on you. I just want you to just open the door. You don't even have to open it full. So I'm going to also use my skills to charm others in the inside and I'll get my way in. And that's what happened with YFM.
So, but in terms of what you've had to give up and sacrifice, you know, I heard a John Maxwell quote. It says, to go up, you must give up. On your journey, what have you had to give up? And how many times did you to get to where you are?
Yo, that's a good question, bro. I gave up friendships with a lot of people. I gave up leisure time. I gave up a lot of parties. I gave up just an ordinary life of a young person. You know, so you know what I mean? Like, so I was always occupied. So you get to sacrifice those things from an early age. But as you grow, also you get into tertiary. It's the same. What helped me was that my roommate, Koskela, was a good DJ. And he had vinyl players. We used to call them Technics SL1200s. And then he used to collect vinyls. His name is Kanso. Till today, I always, acknowledge him and I appreciate him for teaching me how to DJ. So Kanso taught me to DJ. I'd already loved music. I was already collecting cassettes. Back in those days, we used to use cassettes. So I loved music already. So I'm gonna live. I used to live. I don't know if some of you guys know that round building in Joburg called Ponte City. So Ponte City, my roommate was a
The
DJ.
Vodacom building.
It's not a Vodacom building, but Vodacom used to advertise.
Advertise on it.
Yeah.
We call it that.
Sometimes it was at some point it was Coca-Cola. Yeah. So Khanso, I started taking an interest in what he was doing. And so then I learned how he would play. And then I started falling in love with DJing. And those days we used to never use, there was no this system, we had a USB. Like we used to carry crates to go to gigs and DJ. So I'd go with him. And I'd always play with him. I'd open up for him. He would play. And I became a good DJ because we had vinyl players in the I wouldn't call it res, like fletting. And then I practice all the time. Jalo ke practice ar sa shape sponsor skela ra practice. And then koskela we started doing the party tsa koskela. So jalo nal the party koskela they started hiring us. And then ke rona ba re dlalanda koskela we the ones that are playing, entertaining the crowds and the people. And then we formed a DJing group called Deep Nation. So we used to play deep house. So Khanto used to play mushroom jazz / hip hop, you know, hardcore hip hop, but like very smooth, deep type of hip hop, R&B. And then there was a guy called Neo. He used to call himself Neo Lejombok from Vets University. Remember, me and Khanto used to go to UJ. At the time, it was called Vets Tech. And then Neo used to go to Vets University. But Neo was Khanto's friend, and I got introduced to him, and then we just became all three, like we became very good friends. And we formed a DJing group called Deep Nation. So we used to play around parties, go Vets Tech, go Vets University. We started creating relationships with other DJs. We started collecting vinyls, buying vinyls from House Africa Records. So I started falling more and more in love with this DJing thing. But at the same time, I wanted to be on air. I wanted to be at Y. So frequenting Y while practicing, playing at parties at school, sort of got me into that world, although I was a hustler. You know, cell phone, like I don't remember a time when I'm not selling anything. So I'm always selling something. And that's why even when I speak to people who write books, I always talk about the importance of being able to sell and close and make money. Because ultimately every business is selling something. You're selling something here today. Each and every person in this room, somehow they're selling something. And once you've got the skill to sell something, even though you're looking for a job, it's easier for you to always sell yourself. In a boardroom, in an interview, in a public platform, speaking to public people. Politicians sell themselves all the time. It's just that most of them get to lie quite a lot. But you're always selling yourself. So you gotta know, you gotta have the skill to sell yourself, because once you do, then it's easier as you navigate this journey. It's not gonna be an easy thing for you to attain success, but those are some of the little skills that will just help you grow, And that's how I grew. I got into eventually get hired at YFM through a talent search competition. But I didn't even win. I was a runner-up. The person that won it currently works at 5FM. His name is Natty Nice.
Natty Nice, DJ Natty Nice.
Oh, you know Natty Nice?
Yeah.
Yeah, Natty Nice was my guy. He's still my guy. He's at 5FM now. As a music producer, he goes by the name The Observer. I've made some hit songs with him. I've dropped Walking in New York. I don't know if some of you guys would know, it's old school house music. I've dropped Everything Happens for a Reason with him as well. I've dropped Bopilo. I've dropped a lot of very good house singles with him. He's really dope. I mean, he's a friend of mine. So he won the competition. I was runner-up. But eventually, a couple of months later, Craig Maluka gave me a shot and gave me a graveyard slot. I never looked back. I used the graveyard slot to end up becoming a station stand-in DJ. So when the primetime afternoon guys, your Fat Joes, your DJ Freshies, your Semi-Ts, your Bad Boy Ts, and them would not be around or would be absent, I'd be asked to come and stand in for them on air. And then people started hearing this khrof voice, like, "Kimang Tony, a voice khrof, Kimang Tony," The time there was no social media.
Yeah.
And people just imagined whatever they imagined, because you know how radio is.
And to have been famous at that time, it's crazy.
Yeah, at the time I was not
now
famous.
Now it's easy to get famous.
Yeah, no,
but
now it's
back
easy.
then,
Yeah.
it must have been difficult. There was no social media. But what I've also seen is that you've been able to evolve in different ways, from music to owning a record label to starting businesses, Leadership 2020, Sunday Circles, being an author. I mean, what is it that drives you to keep evolving?
It's a work ethic. That's what it was. That's what I
Are
was
people
instilled.
born with that, or do they develop it, or is it given?
That's
to
why I
them?
care because you learn something from when you're young. So when they had me working all the time, little did I know they're instilling a work ethic. So like I feel useless if I'm not doing anything. It's good to rest. Obviously I do rest. But get right to span. Span in such a way that sometimes I don't even look at the high score. I play the match. I don't care whether we are leading or we're being led. I play the match the best way I can. So I put in my fullest potential in everything I'm doing. So even if I'm pushing a project that I can see that we've tried and it's failing, I drop it and I accept that it's not working, and then I move on to the next.
that ability to drop something that's not working, and you do it publicly, or just people expose your stuff a lot. So you face a lot of public scrutiny as well. You're human, just like all of us, right? How do you handle that humiliation and still start something else and keep moving?
It's not humiliation. Remember some panel people used to say, "Entwana elera ko tlase ya ipona." Tsela tse just because they are paranoid, di na no tla re tsela bana yi. Tse di na na go- You know what I mean? Like people are always talking about you. So it's just that now as you grow, the people are talking about you are now becoming many and many and many and many. And you end up being known by the whole country. Then you've got millions of people who talk about you. So khale ba bua ka nna even before, since I was in Ntwana, from Koskela, ko high school. So I'm used to people criticizing my work. So I never really care about what people have to say. But right now, in the social media age, engagement is currency. You want people to talk. So even when they're criticizing you, it's up to you. How do you turn that around? How do you make it work for you? That's engagement. So when I do a good podcast episode and a lot of people agree with the guest, it doesn't have a lot of engagement. It probably has like 300 comments or 200 comments. But if I've got somebody who's maybe controversial, who divides the audience, there's a lot of engagement, then you've got over 1,000 comments. It's good for social media. So I see a lot of people understand how the internet works now. People like Abo Kesper, people like Abo Nota, people like, I can make a lot of examples. They've mastered the internet world. They understand what comes with engagement. So other people thrive off of what other people say about them, and then they're able to turn the narrative around to favor them. So I'm not saying that I go out there to try and clout chase or to try and get negative publicity, but I'm used to being criticized.
But you're still human, right? And the criticism, in as much as it's grown you over the years, there are things that people say that might hurt. And how I want to understand how you handle it. You know, being able to handle a public failure. You said you fail forward, but being able to handle it and saying, okay, it's fine, massive radio didn't work, I'll close it down, move on to the next day. A lot of people are buried by that. A lot of people that are entrepreneurs would still be entrepreneurs if they had the skill that you have of letting things go and moving on. Some people are buried by just a relationship with a woman, it didn't work. They don't make it from that. You understand what I mean? It's true. I guess some of you are here. Say amen.
Billionaire Tate Robert Kumete once said to me, I must not fall in love with a business. He said, I must always know that I build something that will attract other people to be interested in it. And at some point, if I want to sell minority of it, or even sell all of it and move on to the next, I must never be afraid to do that. I must never be attached to ideas or businesses. I never understood at the time when he said that to me. That's over 10 years ago. But you mustn't be attached to the things of the world. You mustn't also be too attached to what you're building. Yes, you love it. At some point, you have to let it go. You see, we worked very hard in building this business for the past 11 years. It has gotten to some point 10 years later. Now it's the 11th, going for the 12th year, where you are reinvesting and bootstrapping this thing so much so that now you're able to afford to get the right skill set to come on board. Your ex-Coca-Cola guys, your ex-Red Bull guys, your ex-Monster guys, people with like tons and tons of experience, and people who've built and sold businesses, people who've built and listed businesses before. Get like the top skill set, and those people are costly. They cost quite a lot. And if you're able to convince them to come on board to help you grow this idea and you pay them well, then it means you built this thing where you are now corporatizing it because you've got professionals that are running it. But even when that happens, also you still feel a sense of, it's like your baby. It's not being handled by other people. Sometimes you feel like you could be doing things differently, but they don't do things the way you know what I mean? But then you start also understanding these people, you brought them on board for a reason, and you all have got a similar goal, and they also want to see this thing succeed, and they've got tons of experience better than you do. You've never ran and listed a business before. You've never built and sold a company for hundreds of millions before. You've never worked for a biggest, beverage global international company before. They have. So you have to just trust the people that you've brought on board and let it go. So don't be too attached to it. And which is what I've been going through over the past few years since our team has been growing. But I've also been able to train myself to not trip and fall and cry and crawl into some corner and cry victim. I'm not a victim, I'm a victor. So even when I fall, get the dust, I'm a brackets all like a and when you do fail, people will talk, people will criticize you. Words are words, bro. Words, yes, are power. Sticks and stones may break bones, but words may cause permanent damage because words are power. What you speak onto the universe is what happens to you. So when people speak their words, you need to remember that I'm comfortable in my own skin and I know who I am. So whatever other people say to define me or whatever opinions they have, like they don't change who I am. Not that I don't take good advice, not that I'm stubborn, but I'm stubborn towards my dream and what I believe in. So it's not easy for me to easily give up. And I've also learned the skill to not be attached, not only businesses or ideas, man, even material things as I've grown older. I used to be very materialistic. I used to love watches, chains, well, not necessarily chains, but I used to love jewelry, the finer things in life, sports cars, just, the nicest life in the world. And ever since I've gotten older, I think you sort of slowly detached from the things of the world because you've got a different understanding as how you view the world is different from how I viewed the world 10 years ago. As you get older, it's easier to detach and move on. So nerato kwerana saldintwana amarona sabtamfan now thandu faka mazibo kenya manala so arkhane mrate ngwana maro ska tlo kenya manala boss o tlo roba pelo and that was the language we used to speak saldintwana. So as Grootman, it's like you don't easily just Kenya Manala anymore. These are the things of the world, and even if you lose them, they don't define who you are. You can always work and get them back again.
Sure. What's the biggest money mistake you've ever made, and what did it teach you?
Not understanding the difference between liabilities and assets, and not understanding the concept of investing. I fell into the trap of instant gratification, just like a whole lot of other youths out there. We all fall through there, especially us black people, because I write la chelet, And I feel obviously you become new money, you get too excited, and you could be doing some incredible things when you've got good cash flow to build your portfolio of assets. So now when I was young, I made a lot of money when I was young. I got rich early. Well, now
How old were you?
Now
21?
Now at my age, it's not riches, but I thought I was rich. I was 21. I was a millionaire before 25. Like imagine that. There was not a lot of, the middle class wasn't
And
as
millionaire
big.
was a lot back then, eh?
Yo, bruh.
Million was a lot.
Yo, bro, you can calculate it and say
It was
like
a lot of
what,
money.
2003, 2005? How much, some of you guys on your phone, laptops. With inflation, there's an inflation calculator online. You can calculate how much R1 million was in 2005, and it's 20 years later today. How much is R1 million? That which was R1 million in 2025, how much is it today? It's probably double or triple, if not more. Do you know what I mean? So imagine like you're not even 21, you're not even 25 yet, like you're in your early 20s. And
Petrol nearly 250
at the time, bro. And the middle class wasn't as big as it is. There was not a lot of black people with money. So imagine, and then imagine becoming famous. So luckily in my 20s, I never used to drink alcohol. I started drinking late at age 30. So I was
You didn't drink at all
sober-minded.
in your 20s?
No, I was not drinking, no. I never used to drink. And
Young, rich, and sober.
yeah, sober, but I was high on music, high on life, high on my passion, high on my dreams. So you wouldn't get bored when you go out with me. Like I was really funny, crack conversations. I was a good oak to hang around. I knew people, I knew all the different corners. I dress nice, I smell good, I drive awesome cars, I'm famous. Come on, bro. When that time ukhuzukile. Usaphanda le ethembisa sure.
I remember listening on radio the other time. There was another spoo. There was a beef between you and another spoo. And you told him on radio that you're taking Aston Martin, and you went and bought
I don't remember that. I don't
it.
remember that.
It is.
The only person that I know had a beef with the Grootman, legendary Kwaito musician Sbu Maloya, was Mzegeze, not me.
Or it was Mzeg.
I don't know. The instance that you're talking about, I don't know which one that is. But yeah, I mean, geez, bro. And sometimes as much as you learn to be humble as you grow older, sometimes there's just a little bit of arrogance,
Yeah.
which is not good. It's distasteful, and I wouldn't advise anyone to be arrogant. But yeah, I used to get it a lot from a lot of people who used to say I was arrogant, But sometimes you have to you learn the hard way.
And how do you view wealth now compared to 20 years ago when you became wealthy for the first time?
I was not wealthy then. I was rich.
Yeah, when you became rich, how do you, how do you view it now? Wealth, now that you're wealthy versus when you were rich.
Wealth for me is freedom. Wealth for me is being able to pick up your kids from school, spending time with your family, traveling, doing the things that make you happy, not being attached or being told what to do or being confined to some office and you have to do 30 days a month or 20 days a month, 9 until whenever you have to do this, you have to do that. You can't do the things that make you happy in your family and spend time with your kids. So my definition of wealth now is different. Back then it was just all about money. But right now, no. Yes, it's got a lot to do with money, of course, creating generational wealth and assets that can look after your family even when you're gone. But it has a lot to do with freedom of expression, freedom of living, freedom of wherever you want to go at a time at which you want to go, doing whatever you love. I do radio now and I wake up at 3 every morning because I love it, not that I have to. At some point, a lot of people have to go to work. They have to be on radio because they're getting a check. So I couldn't care less. Like, even though I lose my radio gig, at least I can still be able to make a living today. But I do that because I love it. So for me, that's wealth, when you're able to practice or do things that you love for the sake of it. Freedom, man, to expose your children or your family to things that they couldn't be easily be exposed to, And for me, that is wealth. And of course, because you are older and you're wiser, you are accumulating assets. I mean, I work with a casino with property development. We've got tons and tons of land. We're building houses. That's generational wealth already, that on its own. I mean, this also is generational wealth on its own. I'm building a new food franchise company. So I do things that I love now. I don't even have to launch another business, but it's just in me. I love creating things. I love building. My late great-grandfather was a king. He comes from the Nkosi clan, and he ruled over hundreds of families around the Emelo area, originally coming from Swaziland, Abakwankosi. And he gave birth to my grandfather from my father's side. And my grandfather was a builder. And my grandfather had a little son. My grandfather's name was Uchohanis Nkosi. His father was Umazez Nkosi. His father was Ukehla. That's how far I've gone, like 5 generations up. Anyway, so my grandfather used to travel with my father all the time from when he was a little boy, building. So he would build, stay in halfway house. At the time, it was in the Midrand that build, stay in halfway house in that white person's farm, and then finish building there, move on, get another project, stay in that house for another 2 years or a year and a half, move on to even when nomase ayechwaleni or bekahlalavane Tamalam eceleni kwakhe. So Tamalam sort of got exposed to what this man was doing. And when he got older as well, he lived around that halfway house, Midrand area. That's where he met my mom. So I would say in my DNA, I've got I've inherited that that skill of not. I don't want to call it a skill for lack of a better word. Right? At time your English sometimes an alofel. That has coin alofel. But I come from a family of builders, a family of leaders, a family of hustlers. Because even from my mother's side, my mother's father, my grandfather, was a wealthy man at that time. The man had pharmaceuticals, chemists. He was a herbalist, but he was also an entrepreneur. He was driving a Rolls Royce back then. How crazy is that? Sure. He had lots of land, like at Dindela, at the Edenvale side, before they even moved to Tembisa. They were moved to Tembisa by Amapuno back then. He had Mercedes Benzes. He was dressing smart in suits and bow ties. He was a gentleman, So from my mother's side, I've got such a grandfather. from my father's side, I also have got a grandfather who was like a builder who comes from, royalty. So I would say that whatever you guys do right now is also going to be passed on to your kids. Some of you guys have got skills where you don't know, like you were born with this thing, but it also comes from it's genetically transferred onto you. You'll find that if you go up your bloodline or your family tree, you'll find some people who actually had the skills that you think you were just born with in J. Some of you guys don't take those skills seriously, but those skills, you have them for a reason. Like, tap into them because they'll take you very far. So it's the same thing with me. So I love building. So I've also understood that not everything you're going to build, you're going to succeed in it. But I've also understood the concept of build it, they will come. So when you build it in the beginning, not a lot of people will believe in it and not a lot of people will give you money. But as the momentum starts going, people, as you'll find somebody who's going to introduce somebody who's going to introduce somebody who's going to give you money, or somebody's going to introduce somebody's going to introduce somebody who's going to give you office space, or somebody who's going to give you you know what I mean? Like this life thing, the fact that you're already intentional about it, you've got a vision with it, and you only speak about it, you're putting it out there. The universe is always working in your favor. Unkulunkulu is always on your side.
What does being a man then mean to you today, especially nowadays that masculinity is being attacked so much? What does it mean to you to be a man? I mean, you talked about the men on your father's side, and you also talked about the men on your mother's side, which means somehow you relate with them, that building spirit, that being a man, that being present, that recreating stuff. But masculinity is always being redefined in different ways by different cultures and people. What does it mean to you to be a man?
People that run the world are really naughty, bro. Like, because they run the world, they can shut down the whole world and we can be in our houses for over a year. Then you get to understand there's people who run things. And they always have got an agenda, right? So they use the media, they use movies, Hollywood, they use programming, they use laws. They own a lot of non-profit organizations that are in a lot of countries, that have infiltrated governments, that lobby and pay or buy politicians. So they're always lobbying for certain policies to try and dictate on how this world or where this world must go. So when masculinity is under attack, sometimes it might just not be a God engineered thing, but it might just be a man engineered thing, a man-made thing for their own personal or selfish reasons, whatever their agendas are, whatever they're trying to do to the world, whatever their plans are for the future, right? So, but I guess if you're somebody and you've sort of understood scripture, or it also depends on the culture that you come from and what your belief system is. But yeah, I think now it's gotten obvious that masculinity is under attack. But other people are comfortable with the new ways of how things are done. And other people are comfortable with how a 2025 man should look like or looks like, But for me, the meaning of a man is a provider, is a leader, is somebody who provides direction, somebody who provides for their family, but somebody who breaks boundaries, somebody who's got confidence, who believes in himself, somebody who cares about his community, somebody who lifts others up, and somebody who just pours out positivity out there and gives back to their community. That's my definition of a man, and I think so far I've lived out my life to my best potential to be the best man I can be, right? Your definition of a man or what it means to you is you. But for me, it's already what I've told you. A leader, a provider, a protector, somebody who cares about their community, somebody who lifts others up, and somebody who does unashamedly the work of God on a daily basis.
Sure. And have you ever had to heal or forgive yourself to move forward in business or in life?
Did I ever have to forgive myself?
Yes.
For
any mistakes that you've made in business or in life, and how did you do it,
Okay.
And the healing part.
Yeah.
A lot of times we hurt ourselves through the decisions that we've made, through the deals that might have gone wrong because of our doing. Maybe some deal is not necessarily because the deal was bad, but because you yourself did not do what you were supposed to. How did you heal from that? Or how can somebody else, what do you advise they do to heal from things like that?
Yeah, we're all not perfect human beings, Mr. Witness. We'll continue to make mistakes all the time. You look back and you see a lot of mistakes that you've made. You see some things that have costed you money. Some have costed you relationships. Some of you have costed you quite a lot. But I used to worry a lot in the past, but now I don't anymore. As I did say that I believe everything happens for my own good. Even though it's hurting.
Did you want to say everything happens for a reason?
yeah.
You've got a song like that.
Of course. And everything does happen for a reason. So
Yeah.
even when things did not happen or go, work towards my favor, you sometimes get mad at yourself, but then you sometimes make peace with it and keep it moving. But only later on, 2, 3, 4, 5 years later, only then you understand why that in the past happened the way it did and why it didn't happen your way. Then you get to understand, no, actually maybe Mudimu nantusa for me to be where I am now. You know what I mean? So sometimes Mudimu shows us tough love. Because leading cancer. Sometimes because you are just there and you're overstaying your welcome, and God is just blessing you with other blessings. He wants you to level up. But you don't want to level up because you love whatever you're doing so much so that it's a dam and like and then and then you get miserable, you've been fired, you've lost this, you get irritated, and then your life goes through turbulence. Maybe you don't have an income or a stable income anymore. Maybe for a year, for a couple of months, and then you feel only to understand 5, 7 years later, oh, this is what I was being put through. That was just a test. And he was leveling me up because I could look stubborn.
So for the young, I'll say young hustler, starting out with nothing, what's the best money principle that they need to master?
Don't make the mistakes that we made. Understand liabilities from assets. Understand the concepts that he teaches in his book. One of the best books I've ever read. It's more than just money. It's an incredible book. He talks about gratifying yourself and also paying yourself and just having, he calls it play money. But he also talks about the importance of investments. And he talks about the simplest thing you can invest in is land, and land gives you property. And property is the easiest thing that you can double up on. The other day, I was interviewing him on my podcast, I think it was last week, and we spoke about a beautiful principle of just buying one property. Actually, one property can help you create generational wealth, which is what has happened in his life. His mother had the room that they used to hire out, and the room would say there'd be tenants, and tenants would be paying Zaka. And Zaka, but when moms left, if you read his book, you'll get to understand that after moms left, he got the skill to be able to continue running the Rumuteu. But the Rumuteu is actually the genesis of everything he owns today and what he has built. It comes from the Rumuteu. So when we're talking on my podcast, I was talking just one property, even if it's a 500,000 rands, a 1-bedroom or bachelor apartment that you buy for your kid next to where they're going to study at university. You can just advise even the estate planners, even God forbid you pass on, to instruct them that your kid or your children must not sell that one property, because that one property over the years, you can even buy it now. Maybe your child is still young, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. But you never know, your child, when they're 18 and it's time for them to go to varsity, that property has accumulated in value. Maybe you've paid it off, or maybe whenever you had money, you were paying a little bit more, so you were able to pay it off at a lesser, or maybe at the time, even though you have not paid it off at that time, maybe you paid half of this property, and this property can buy you another property. Then you can get your kid, or you can get your estate planner, even though you're not around, or instruct them to buy a house next to whatever university your kid is going to be going to. And in that house, your kid stays with their classmates, and they rent from them, and they pay the rental amount to the estate planner or the lawyers. And then that money becomes that asset becomes value for your children. Because if your child has got 2 assets, at the age of 18, 19, 20, 21, even though you're no longer around, and those 2 assets, good news, they're paid off, then your child is set for life. I mean, at 2021, apartment, property, one sharp. Because even if that child drops out of school, at least they've got an asset, they've got something like to kickstart their journey, unlike us, where it was even tough to get Zaga, you're looking at school. So you don't repeat that cycle. I was just making that example. So The money advice that I would give to young people is exactly that: land, 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 or property, property, property. And when it comes to property, property, location, location, location. That's why I'm making an example about your child having a property next to the varsity where they're going to be studying, because we all know you can never run out of student accommodation opportunities. There's always kids or parents that are looking for their kids' place to stay next to the varsity. And some of you end up doing good deals, because then you end up cracking a deal with the varsity or with the bursary companies where they pay you money up front. Maybe you've got like a 5-bedroom, 4-bedroom, you can house 4 students. Maybe a rental of what, 3,500 or 4,000 per month. How about leave for that's 16K a month? That pays off that property. You can find other companies where these kids, that 4K a month, it's 50K. You find a company that pays you that upfront, 50K, 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 50K. Your kid is the 5th tenant of that house. But all these 4, the upfront. And then that upfront money goes into the property to pay it off, or contribute in paying it off. And the instructions that you've given to the estate planners, even in your absence, say you're no longer around, they're able to then use those properties to even buy another one. So then your child immediately, while they're still studying, they're already an investor. And that's advice I can give. Like, property is the easiest way to generate or build generational wealth. Other people, it's not necessarily a property or a house to stay in or to let out. Other people turn that property into a business. The lodges that you see, the B&Bs that you see. So if you've got a B&B that has got about 15 rooms, and you charge 1,000 rands or 1.2 per night on weekends, and maybe on off-peak seasons during the week, that property maybe charges 500 rands. You can do your calculations as to how much money one property can make. That's crazy money. So now you've got a property that's generating an income. That's why other people even turn it into an alcohol place or an eating place. They turn the property into a restaurant where people come to eat. But basically now I always look at it like they're coming to the money box to deposit the money. It's like when I look at the malls that Mangamla have built in townships, I look at it like Rona, we just go there to throw our money in there. And when they've come to the hood and they've set up, I know we call it a mall, but for Nakes like it's a money box. They put up a big money box that black people get paid every month or every weekend. They just go there to deposit this money to Makua, you know?
Yes.
And we can do that ourselves as well. So you can start doing it with just one property. So instead of that one property taking out money from you every month, you can rather turn it into it making money for you. As I've just made those examples, B&B, lodge, a restaurant, batho ba ja ba tlo reka gaolo kapa batho ba tla ba tlo reka mabeala or whatever, but now you know that you're generating money through that property. So that's the easiest advice I can give. Property.
How do we build that into a culture as black people? I mean, you said something quite powerful, that you see a mall as a money box that has been deposited into a township, and people just go deposit their money into it. How do we build it as a culture for black people to be able to build those little money boxes for themselves? I mean, how do we create a culture around it?
We're doing it.
I mean, you've always stood for black excellence and you've always advocated for ownership, but black people themselves have attacked you for that.
Yeah.
So how do we shift the culture?
When you work for your community, it's a thankless job. Because you know what Makho have done also into our mindset. So because they'll call you a scammer, but only for them to listen to you long enough to actually understand what you're about and to also learn of your credibility. But I'd like to say this is a different generation, man. We're all using social media in positive ways. Most of us, well, some of us are, like what you're doing. Like these seminars, writing the books, putting the information in the books, doing these podcasts. Abantu abanjengabo Ma-Penuel, abantu abanjengabo Notes, abantu abanjengabo Banele Rio, abantu abanjengabo Abo Putsboni. So he's got a money movement. He teaches people financial literacy. There's a lot of people that now are sharing this type of information and they're building this type of culture. And now it happened to me. Same way, when I was young, I started following Bontate David Mulapo,
Tim Tibeila, I can
Bontate
help you.
Tebeila. You know, I started following Mahrutman. I started listening to what they were saying. I started, and that changed my life. Look at what it has made me. And I do know that I also passed it on. And a lot of young guys, always give me their message to say I changed their lives because of what I was doing and the message that I was putting out there. So we just must not stop. I like the fact that where we are right now, we're all a lot of us are using our social media platforms to be educational. I'm even seeing some families, might not be just business, but you're seeing some families who have created some sort of family environment content that they share online with their kids, being a family, going through the hardships of being a father or being a mother or having kids. I think there's just a niche number of people that are using their social media platforms constructively to build a black nation. And I think we must just keep at it, and we must just keep on doing more and more of that. And we must pay it forward. Those that learn from others, they must pass it on. As I've just made an example, I was also blessed to have been mentored. And I gathered that information from those rooms, those billionaires and those millionaires, that a lot of my peers couldn't be in those rooms. So once I attained that information and it was working for me, I also wrote books. I also started doing seminars like these, Bo Leadership 2020, to put the information out there. And now I start getting the feedback from people like yourselves, Abo Bulelani, Abo Robot Boy, a whole lot of many others that have helped mentor or helped bring closer to me, who give me positive testimonies to say, yo, bro, just watching you or learning from you or being around you or being mentored by you, I've benefited so much. And then I see them doing the same to others. So I think we are already doing it.
Sure. And we're going to go quick fire chat.
Sure.
Ne? Rapid. What's one book every young hustler should read?
Think and Grow Rich.
Best decision you've ever made?
Going to search for my family tree and understanding and knowing who I am, whose I am, and where do I come from.
Worst advice you've ever received?
Worst advice I've ever received? That's a very good question. You see, people give you advice based on what has worked for them. And not everything has worked for witness will work for you too. So be careful on whom you receive an advice from. And when you do receive that advice, be careful as to how will you apply it in your own life, right? So I cannot necessarily single out one, but even when I do receive advice from people, I always put that advice through a test. I scrutinize the advice, and I don't just listen to advice and I just implement blindly, right? So I wouldn't necessarily single out just one.
What's the biggest myth about success? I mean, you would know.
Yeah, I guess it's that it brings happiness.
It doesn't.
It gives you options.
I mean, think about the time where, remember I told you the story of the Porsche. I mean, you were doing Leadership 2020. You had the Porsche and the Range Rover. But because you'd let us in, we'd see you, that time, you were successful, isn't it? You had the Porsche, the Range Rover, any car you wanted, Aston Martin, you drive a Lamborghini from Joburg to Pretoria in 10 minutes.
It gives you options, eh? It gives you options, not happiness, really. It makes life easier because you can act, you can look after the people that you care for, you can make sure the bills are always covered, you can give people the quality of life that you've never had yourself, you can make them travel, you can give them the soft life. But for you personally, if you're not happy with yourself within, no matter how much money you can have, it doesn't matter. So I always say to people, you must find happiness within. It's not out there. To try and forget your problems. But if you don't fix this person, no matter how much money you can get, you'll never be happy. So happiness comes from within. So the biggest myth that comes with success is that you'll be happy. You'll have options to make life easier, but you'll not necessarily be happy. There's a lot of people that I know who've got money, but who are not necessarily happy.
Sure. So if today was your last day, God forbid, what truth would you want the world to know?
I don't think I live my life to want to make people understand certain things or I used to. Maybe if you asked me this question, I would have answered it differently 5 years ago, 10 years ago.
Yeah.
But right now, I couldn't care less, bro. Like whatever they think of me, like, or whatever they know, they know. Whatever it is that I didn't share, it was probably intentional that I didn't want the world to know, right? So there isn't really anything that I would say. They must know it. Maybe I would love for them to know that about me. There isn't really. I think I've been very transparent about my life, and I've been very open about everything, and I've tried to share as much as I can. But yeah, that's it. I'm comfortable in my own skin. I'm God's child. I do a lot of work for my community. I give myself to a lot of people. I've helped, and I still continue to help a lot of people. I'd like to believe I'm a good father. I'm a good family man. I think I'm a positive role model to a lot of people. There isn't anything that I'd like to say, I think whatever they know, and that's fine. And that's why I write books. So that my books will give people an idea of what my thoughts have been. You must always pen your thoughts. And the books will live on forever. And those words will impact society forever. And if there's anything, I think they'll read it from my books. I'm a very open book, bro, you know?
Yeah. And where can people tap into your work moving forward?
The work is online everywhere. Just Google DJ Sbu, you'll see everything there. Or just follow my social media platforms or just buy my books. Come to some of our seminars that we do. Listen to my radio show. It's national. I'm on Radio 2000 every morning. That's where I share information as well. And I'm on a new venture, which is beautiful. I'm enjoying the food space. It's incredible. I'm only launching now Easter, but only in Johannesburg. We'll be on Uber Eats. From Uber Eats, we'll also be on Mr. D. We'll be on Spaza Eats. We'll be on Swiper. And over time, we'll grow nationally. But that's what I'm doing right now. Food, selling African food, African Kasi cuisine, and just learning the food space and learning to become better and continuing to try as much as I can to be a positive pillar of strength for my community and to try as much as I can to be a good, positive guiding light to the youth of the country.
And last question.
Sure.
If someone is feeling lost,
Yeah.
what's the one thing they should do today to get back on track?
Yo, that's a really good question, bro. Finding God, eh? Find God. And once you also have got an understanding that the God or the happiness or the fulfillment or the solace that you're trying to seek out there, it is within you. And God is within. He gave us a physical manifestation of what he represents or who he is through his son, you know? And with all these different beliefs that are out there, if you can only understand that he said we are made in his image, then he gives us a permission to be like him. He's a creator, he's a loving father, he is a father of all, he is. So the fact that he's given us that permission through scripture, it says that you are exactly him. So how I operate my life is I find happiness within, I find my God within, and I always try and starve the yang in me and I feed the yin in me. It's always the yin and yang, right? And so above, so below. And there's always the positive and the negative. There's the dark and the light. And the more you move away from the light, it means you're moving towards the dark. And the more you move away from a godly life, it means you're going towards an evil life. So always strive to find the great in you, the best out of you, the God in you. And the God in you encourages you to be a loving person, encourages you to be a sharing person, a kind, compassionate person, a giving person, etc., etc. But how I live my life, I believe I am a God too, small letter G. And I believe I find happiness within because I live a godly life. And if I am that as best as I can be, and I strive to be better every day, I do believe that I leave an incredible legacy behind.
Sure. So if you're watching this and you're online, we're about to get to the end of the podcast. If you haven't subscribed, please click on that subscribe button. It doesn't cost you any money, please. It's free. Just click on it and click on that notifications bell so that you don't miss any of our upcoming videos. Today, I was sitting with a mogul in music, in property, in business, in entrepreneurship, in podcasting. This man leads every path that he's on. Awuphilile, Grootman, and usazophila. But there's one thing I read from your book
Sure.
that I forgot to ask. It's a silly question and I'm going to ask it.
Ke nna mzakazaka na.
I
I get that one every day.
How did it
Actually,
feel?
by the way, that's why I started this business.
Because-
I'm like, these people always think I'm zagazag every day. I need to start profiting out of it.
I wanted to ask, how did it feel dating Terry Pet?
Ukadimana, come on, get out of here. Dating, I mean, it's you date a lot of people. Some of them it happens that it's on camera, but you know what I mean. So it's not only Osmo that I've had a great relationship with. There's a whole lot of others out there. Some it was on camera, some was not on camera, and some of them they're in the industry, yes, they're famous, when some they're not. It's just like me asking you about your exes. It's the past, but I'm one of those people who never.
I won't tell you about my exes, man.
I don't want to know. I also don't kiss and tell. And that's why I've got good relationships with a lot of the people that are my exes that I've worked with in the past. Sometimes it does irritate the people that you're currently with. Like, why are you still speaking to your... I don't necessarily go out of my way to speak to my exes, but I'm a friendly guy and I keep good relationships. I can nearly see I don't burn bridges. So I've got good relationships. I don't have like a sea of disgruntled exes like you. I don't expose that one day. So I'm always cool. They're always able to pick up the phone. They're like, yo, bro, you know?
Yeah.
And I sometimes get into trouble. Why were you having lunch with this person? Can't you know? It's got no, like, I don't want to go back. I've moved on with my life. But I try as much as I can to keep good relationships with everyone. So I think we also have got a good relationship till today and a whole lot of my other exes as well.
Yeah, I was being silly throwing it in.
That's why I go sharp, Alan.
Yeah, but
But it was dope, man. We had a great time. We were young. And, you know, being in the industry, because you are seeing these people, you're always in similar spaces. The award shows, the events, you get to sometimes get to date within the industry. And
Why did you stop dressing well, man?
I still do.
But I used to kill it, man.
No, say your mind is conditioned.
Wait.
Your mind is conditioned.
I'm posing a question that people always ask me.
Yeah.
So I'm putting it to you so that you can answer it yourself.
Yeah.
Right? They know you as the spoo that you taught us how to dress.
Yeah.
You used to say to us, how you dress is how people will address you.
Yeah.
Those are your words, right?
Yeah.
I'm not lying.
Yeah.
And you used to kill it from suits to shoes to, you even used to do your nails. You were the guy.
Yeah.
Right? Watches, like you are saying.
Yeah.
Right? So why did you stop doing that?
So maybe you can ask the question and say, why did I stop wearing predominantly European brands and dressing more formal than I used to, like I do now? So I wear more local brands now. I'm more comfortable now. See, me and you are different. When are you still knocking quite a lot and you still want to create a certain image by dressing a certain way? Now I dress whatever I feel like dressing. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. Sometimes we don't chase, we sometimes build and attract. So it's not necessarily more about how you look nowadays to try and fit into the corporate space. But I was trying to become a businessman. I was trying to be taken seriously. I was trying to grow to get into certain rooms and open certain doors. And once you're in there and once God has blessed you, you are so comfortable. It's like, I still do once in a while dress in suits, you know. It's not like Jano, I no longer do. But obviously even your appearance, you know, I've got hair now. I let my hair grow. I don't comb my beard. So for somebody else, that's untidy. But for me, that's dope. But for me, that's dope. My peers banalidi mpandla. Look at how much hair I have. It's like, my peers banalidi mpandla. I've got a lot of hair, bro. And I've never had dreadlocks in my life. It's a beautiful experience. See, that's what I'm talking about when I talk about freedom. I'm free to do whatever I like. I don't have to be forced to wear a suit. I don't have to be forced to, you see, now you look nice. You know, shave that hair and then you'll probably get the deal or they'll listen to you. It's like I walk in and I have meetings with whoever, like sometimes I'm in shorts.
If I was to have dreadlocks, they'll start here.
So, it's like for now I'm happy, I guess.
Yeah.
For me, I'm happy. And I guess different strokes for different folks. So whatever works for you, go for it. But I'd also would like to advise younger guys, it is the right thing to do, to dress the way you would like to be addressed, to be presentable in different spaces. Just like I look at this room, you guys look amazing. But you'll see also once you're in your 40s, maybe you get into your 50s, God blesses you to live that long. The mindset that you have at that age is a different mindset that you had when you're in your 20s. And also you'll see some of you guys who are going to get wealthy. When you are wealthy, you'll see how different you think from when you are still, hustling and running around.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much, Rotman. Let's give him a round of applause. Me personally, I'll give you your flowers while you're still alive. I love you, my brother. I always tell you this, and I appreciate you. I appreciate the work that you've done, what you've invested, more especially into the young guys. I mean, most of the young guys that you mentored back then that have made it, some of them are my personal friends. And I've seen how when they got around you, their lives basically transformed and moved to the next level. So you're not starting now with the work that you are doing. You started a long time ago. May God give you more life to be able to do those things, to be able to empower more people, to be able to build more businesses because you do it for fun. Continue having fun. Some will work, some will blow up, but you already know the lessons, So thank you for taking time out to spend time with us on this podcast. It's more than just money, which you inspired to start, by the way. So you're reaping the fruits of your own words and your own mentorship and inspiration. So we've done over 85 episodes. I think yours is 86.
Wow, that's amazing.
Yeah, so we've done a lot of episodes, and yeah, we are grateful for the friendship, for the mentorship, for the partnership, and for everything else. As we close the podcast, do you have anything to say to close it up?
I just want to continue saying I'm proud of you, bro. I'm proud of your consistency, your continued willingness to want to pour onto other people. That is highly admirable. May God continue to bless you and give you more power to do that. It's an incredible work that you do. It's an amazing job, And my last words is, Kilebile Holo, thank you very much, guys, for taking time out of your busy schedules to come here and attend an amazing session with Mr. Mdaka. He's an amazing entrepreneur. He's an incredible mind that I learn from every time I listen to his content or I read his book. And his book has to be read over and over. It's that Bible that you need to have in terms of understanding how to get into this property space and how you can maximize on it and how he has been able to simplify the difficult jargon or the difficult knowledge that the property investment space brings with. It's not easy to easily understand it, but people like him have been able to simplify it in their own words and put it in the book. And he's a living example of that, as I did say. And he's told us the story multiple times that he just started Kadi Bedroom Go High, and they've built this empire that he's building today. So may you continue to do the same. May you guys continue to do the same. Ari Tlokomeleng, keep the humility. Let's love God. Let's give back to our communities. Let's uplift our young people while we're having fun building our dreams. I wish you guys all the best. Thank you.
If you're watching online, we are signing out from me and my team, broadcasting from Rustenburg, Northwest, South Africa. It's more than just money. We'll see you in the next episode. Ciao, ciao.
That was good.